welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe Ringside Seats and the Cartoonist Kayfabe Ringside Seats Comics Symposium. This week we are being taken over by the Ghost Agents. They've taken over! It's the Ghost Agents Takeover. We've got a revolving door and open door policy, so any creators of Ghost Agents, come on in, hang out, see what's going on. And anyone who's not a creator, who's just interested, come on in, say hi, ask some questions of these amazing creators who's ripping it up on Kickstarter right now. Issue 3, fully funded. We just cracked out our first stretch goal and we're ready to keep it going. So let's get in here. We've got the creator of the Ghost Agents, Rocko Jerome here, who's guest hosting with myself and Rick and Craig, who will be in very soon.
What's going on, guys?
What up, y'all?
Fan, first time guest host.
We got him right here, the now sold out issue 2.
These are our only copies of Ghost Agents.
Issue 1.
If you don't already have one spoken for, then I'm afraid you done fucked up, my friend. You're not going to be able to get it.
It's all good though. There's a lot of more stuff,
right? Because
sure.
Yeah, good.
You just did.
Yeah, that's how we're doing this operation. Kickstarter, right? And now you actually had a second chance to get it during this Kickstarter, and we only printed 200 of those.
Yeah, we only had so many.
That's how that works.
But all right, before we get into this takeover here, let's get the symposium battling back a little bit and do some quick intros from our hosts. Let's start with Rick, who is coming to you live on the scene at the Ghost Agents car ride in the desert. So reporting from our desert base. What up, Rick?
I'm currently 40 miles outside of Barstow right now.
Ooh.
I just left Ghost Agents headquarters. Me, Eli Schwab, and Adam Lemna, we're all down at Collector's Paradise in Woodland Hills, slinging our books, selling Ghost Agents and Wizards and Powers and Cosmic Cats and all sorts of greatness out there.
Amazing day.
So tomorrow is the newest update for Next Panel Press. It'll be my 33rd Cosmic Cat strip. If you check out Next Panel Press on our Instagram, you can read every single story through the story highlights. So if you want to read Adam Lemna's Relic Hunter, you could go on to our story highlights on the Next Panel Press Instagram page, and you can start from 1 and get all the way up until today.
Yeah.
I'm working my way through issue 3 of The Power, and I am making my way back to Ghost Agents headquarters.
Thanks, dude. Reporting to you live. Thank you, Rick. Now back to Eli in the studio. All right, what's up? I was just down there in Collector's Paradise with Rick. We were slinging some books. We had a great day. We both sold books to the store. They bought out Rick and bought out Adam to stock their stores, which was really awesome. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And it was just a all-around great day. And
you guys get to all hang out together like that.
Yeah, man, I was psyched. And they picked it. They want us to come back to the Pasadena store next week, so we're doing that.
Excellent.
So that's going to be killer. And I've been just packing up Wizards nonstop, and I just got the second half of my shipment, so I'm shipping out the foils. I'm shipping out the. I got the foils down here. They look just beautiful.
I got one of those.
Yep, it's on the way to you.
Got it right now. I hope I get it really soon.
It's in the mail.
This has been a very busy month for you, Eli, huh?
It has been, man. I haven't stopped shipping for like 2 weeks, getting out Ghost Agents 2 for everyone, getting out Wizards, getting out packages of both Ghost Agents and Wizards, and so it's been amazing.
And we're running a Kickstarter for
right.
Ghost Agents 3.
Yeah.
Everything that could be happening right now is happening.
It is. Everything that possibly can. And we've got signings and cons coming up. I got accepted into Toronto Comic and Art Festival, TCAF. So I'm heading up to TCAF. Rick and I and Adam are looking into Long Beach Comic Con, and there's awesome. One other one. I'm going to San Diego Comic Con, working with my friend Greg Horn again. I'm super excited about that. So if anyone's going there, you can probably find me and get some stuff from me there. So sweet. Let's go over to our host with the most, and the guy who, masterminded this takeover, Mr. Rocko Jerome. What's up, Rocko?
Hey, man. Well, it's good to be back on another one of these symposiums, and I'm really I've been looking forward to this. and I put on one of my finest Hawaiian shirts here.
See that?
I'm not actually on the beach, although it appears that Dave Grom is.
Does seem like Grom is.
Yeah. Dave Grom is
Michigan,
not,
right there.
yes. Yeah, there he is, right there by the sandy beach. Dave Grom is not yet in Ghost Agents, but he will be soon.
Issue
Dave,
3.
he's going to be at, well, no, oh yeah, you are in 3. What am I talking about? I almost gave away something. Gave away something. Never mind. Forget I said that. Dave Grom, what are you doing in issue 3 of Ghost Agents?
I did a pinup for the space agent going through different
What did
dimensions.
I tell you I wanted you to draw?
Whatever I wanted to draw, pretty much. You're like,
Yeah.
what do you think is fun to draw? And I'm like, I got you.
And I think I may have used the phrase weird shit.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, exactly.
To
That
draw-
was exactly it.
You have to draw this guy specifically the way that he's been drawn before.
But everything else.
Everything
weird
else,
shit.
go crazy. And you were like, can I change the way the guy looks? And I said, absolutely not.
Did I? I don't think
What
I
do you
did.
want
Did I?
from me? I'm letting you draw anything you want, except for this one guy. What do you want? I feel like,
Everything
like I-
else.
feel like I gave you a pretty good deal. I don't understand.
Oh yeah. I don't remember asking to if I could
Dang.
change the way the dude looked.
You
Are
did
you
say
airing
that.
out dirty laundry right now, Rocco?
I am, because I remember that.
Really?
Yeah, that's a grievance I have with you. I'm really mad at you.
Oh, is it?
Oh no.
Is it?
Trying to change the way the guy looks. What kind of operation you think this is, buddy?
Jeez,
mean,
all
the
right.
kind
Pump
of
the brakes
operation
here.
Where you change
Something
the
I'm
way
gonna
the
have to
guy looks.
repent for.
No, I mean, I think maybe it was just that I hadn't done a good job of explaining the assignment, but at any rate, you did a great
At
job.
any rate, Grom,
rate.
we thank you for your
Thanks for your
submission.
service. Grom, let's go ahead and point out too, the page that Grom did is available also as a poster, right? You're gonna get one of those posters, Grom?
Probably.
Yeah, I'll make sure you get one.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks,
poster.
man.
You'll get it.
Of your own work to hang on your wall. That'll be cool, man. You know?
Well, let's start off just talking about ghost agent stuff. Let's start with you, Rocco. Let's get down to the roots of the ghost agents. Let's hear like a little about your creation process, when it first hit you. Was the comic book the first thing of ghost
No.
agents, or was there some sort of thing before? Or
I like that you're asking questions that you know the answer to. It makes for a good conversation.
we're in this together, so I feel like I know.
This is for the viewing public.
Yeah.
All of the masses of the people that'll be watching this.
Exactly.
So ghost agents as a concept is, I became really fascinated, maybe like, I don't even remember how long ago, but maybe like something like 6 or 7 years ago with this concept of flash fiction that you've heard of.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's even still like a trendy thing, but for a while there was this idea of like, tell a short story that's like 2 paragraphs long. Put everything you need inside of a 2-paragraph story, right? So I had this idea that it would be fun to do that because I'm a writer by trade as well as temperament. And the stuff that I write isn't necessarily creatively fulfilling, we'll put it that way. So it seemed like it might be a good way to sort of, exercise some muscles, but not take out too much time. I have a very short attention span, just as I'd imagine a lot of the audience does, right? So I want to be able to make things that can be very palatable quickly, unlike this answer to your question.
No.
I came up with this concept of this thing called Ben Venice, right?
Right.
And the idea of Ben Venice is that it's like, I'm obsessed and fascinated with Jim Steranko's work, especially in particular, the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff that he did in Marvel Comics. And one of the things that I was always taken by is how much those are like total unreality. And like one of the weirdest things about it is that there's a dude who's a sergeant in World War II, never makes it past sergeant. And some level of government, they're like, we need to, FBI and CIA, they're not cutting it. We need to get another secret agency. Who do we get to run it? I know a guy from a World War II veteran who never made it above sergeant. That guy should be in charge.
Yeah.
So I originally started thinking in terms of like, what was that guy's deal? Like, how did that happen? Right. So I started to write these little flash fiction stories about that character, right? And like what that would look like. And the whole idea was that each one of those would be something you could read in like under 5 minutes, right? And sort of if you read them all, then you'd start to get this narrative of what this dude is about, and you know how he comes to be who he is, and all that sort of stuff. And I was doing them, you know, I was finding them interesting. I put them together in a couple of books. I was going to do a series of 12. I put them on Amazon as like digital books where you pay like $1. I always said I didn't want them to be free because I feel like when things like that are free, people don't attach any value to them. It's like if you spend $1, you'll at least kind of be inclined to maybe read it.
Oh yeah, well that's a deal on this book. Let's
exactly,
do it.
you know.
Yeah.
So put those together and put them out, and just like nothing happened. I mean, like nothing happened. Like my girlfriend at the time read them and she liked them, and then she got like her uncle to read them. And as far as I know, nobody else read Ben Venice. Somebody did. Somebody was buying a few of them here and there.
I bought one.
Thanks.
When we first met. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. But they
I didn't read it or anything.
Oh, that's fine.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I did read. I did read it.
I tell you what. Okay, so here's kind of like how I've made something. I've made every kind of something a person can make. I'm not saying I make good stuff, but I made things. Right. I've been in bands. I've made movies. I've done books. I've done comics. I was in plays. All sorts of shit. Right.
Yeah.
If you have a band, people want to hear your band to see what they think. And they probably will be like, yeah, that's you. If you make a movie, they don't want to see your movie. They don't want to go see your movie. I mean, some people will, but most people will be like, I'm not going to go see that because I don't want to see a whole movie that you're in. Like, it's easy to talk.
I got to put up with you all day long. Why would I want?
Yeah. Like, and all this, I'm staying outside of the possibility of there being some sort of like salacious content or something. Like if somebody like, you're going to like hear, there's going to be some tea spilled, then yeah, I want to see it or hear it. But other than that, no, not so much. So, after writing the books, it was kind of like one of these things where it was like, I meant to just kind of keep doing it. But like, I kind of got myself into a corner where it's like, I have to write for my job. I work for a local magazine, a local like lifestyle magazine. And it's like, I don't know. I just, I didn't feel like writing that stuff. There was no money in it. And it's like, I was content to just kind of like let those stories live in my imagination. Right? Ben Venice is still there, by the way, if anybody is interested now to go back and revisit, and it'll lend a lot of context to the Ghost Agents books, but very different. Like I always sort of was writing Ben Venice to be, it's not like an action adventure thing. It's kind of like about the moments in between, like this.
Didn't we actually included one in issue 1. So you can read.
Yeah, we did.
We did. Yeah, it's like, it looks like a letter. It's like the letter page.
Yeah, like the first part of Ben Venice is actually in that. And that's one of the things that happens when you're putting together a book like this. And you're like, oh shit, we need a page.
Right.
That we've already kind of milked all the content we have. So we have to figure out some way to sort of like put something in.
But I think that was a perfect filler page. It was like one of these stories. It's unused, but it's lore. I mean, is it canon? The YouTube question is it canon? It's canon.
It absolutely is. Yeah, all of the Ghost Agents stuff is. But like the Ghost Agents comic is the same principle. It's like each story is designed to be perfectly palatable on its own. You can read it and be like, oh, okay, that's what that is. And then you can go on with your life. And if you read all of them, then you'll start to see a larger narrative that emerges.
Interesting.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, like a lot of Ghost Agents takes place in the middle of the 20th century, because that's something that I'm fascinated in. And that's sort of like the sort of the origins of spy.
Well, the Steranko age.
Sure. And also just like the Cold War. And like the thing about Steranko too is that Steranko was sort of a gateway drug for me into a bunch of other things. Like,
of course,
that was sort of what got me into Warhol and optical art, which is like all of those like wavy.
Warhol, do you mean the amount of art that the Nazis stole during World War II? Their Warhol?
No, that's not. I mean,
met,
Andy
like,
Warhol,
oh,
pop
Andy.
artist, the guy
Was that a good joke, did you think? And nobody laughed except for
was
John
not
Burkett. So
wasn't
Dave
great.
Praetorius now. Okay.
Wasn't great.
It was a pun. Okay.
But
All right.
you
Let's
know,
continue.
we will. We'll keep going. And
Okay.
then optical art, which is
So
something that
great.
I've always been fascinated by and didn't even really know what it was.
For
Like,
more on Rocko and op art, check out page 56 of Wizard 2 and Rocko's
Right.
article, Comics Are Pop Art.
Pop, because there's pop art, right? And there's
And
also
Op art. Yes.
optical art. Yeah.
That is the
Optical
shit.
art, it's the lines. Pop
I
art
love
is
that.
pop art is comics, as far as I'm concerned, which you can
Right,
read
exactly.
by Treatsy on that in the latest issue of Wizard, which I'm very excited to get my copy, by the way.
It's in the mail.
No, it is.
You
I got
ordered the
one.
foil.
Rick and I got the foils, and
Uh-huh.
we ended up having to wait, but that's okay. Believe me, I know how this happens because it's happening to me as it happens.
Right, and it happened to us. All right.
We're right there together.
Yeah.
So this leads nicely into introducing Mr. Burkett. So the idea is that the whole series would be this like 60s feeling thing taking place in the 60s, and I don't like getting painted into a corner on that thing. You know, don't put baby in a corner.
No.
And when we started working on the second issue, I saw John's work in Darkest Image, and he did a story where it was like a bunch of different Bruce Lee clones, like a bunch of the different knockoff versions of Bruce Lee that existed in film. And I wanted him to do that because I love Bruce Lee. I wanted Bruce Lee to be a ghost agent.
Right.
So I wanted him to collaborate, but I wanted to woo him and win him over. So I said, John, what do you want to draw? You can just tell me what you want to draw, and we'll figure out a way to get it in Ghost Agents. And he starts talking about the future and like outer space and ugly people at state fairs. And I'll let John take it from here. Actually, here's John Burkett, great artist, who's in both issues 2 and 3, and will probably be in 4 of Ghost Agents. John, take it away.
Well, thanks, Rocco. Yeah, no, I remember.
Still hear you.
I remember when Rocco reached out to me. That's he said, "Well, what do you want to draw?" And yeah, I had this idea. I've been following this Instagram account that had all these kind of photos of people from state fairs and just really interesting kind of salt of the earth type people. And I said, well, I'm kind of thinking of this like trailer park space station, and so we ran with it, wrote this really fun story about a couple of residents of this space station that was called the Dead End, and their caper, their attempt to hijack this really fancy spaceship that happens to make an emergency landing in their dilapidated space station. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed just illustrating that one.
Yeah, it came out great too, man. It's such a great story.
Yeah. There's
right.
a page in that became a poster that Eli painted in the black light style. I don't know if you have one of those handy. I have one hanging up in the hallway. I really love that page and that particular work. Yeah, look at that. Look how
Yeah,
cool
this
it
is yeah.
Yeah.
Be amazing. I only was able to color it so well because John is so organized and sent us an amazing Photoshop file with all the layers and everything that made it so easy to work with. I don't know if I thanked you for that yet.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. So, right away, and that was the first story in the second issue, very deliberately so, to sort of like shake up the system and like be like, you think you know what this book is about.
Well, I like what effect that had on you, Rocko, too, because that made you really be like, okay, I have this Sterankoville, like we're only in Sterankoville. Oh wow. But then all of a sudden
scanner, what was that?
That was the police scanner. Yeah, let me turn it off. Beep. All right, it's off. All right, so that made you get out of Sterankoville and move into like across the universe, time, space, made everything, So
I want to say one important thing too about Steranko is that like I'm such a big enthusiast of Steranko's work that like when I talk to artists, I kind of try to tell them like, don't do a Steranko impression. Like, I don't want anybody to get the baggage of like oh, this guy's just doing Steranko because Rocko wants him to do Steranko. Like I want to make sure that like it's like everybody sort of, the thing that I like most about Steranko's work is that it pushes envelopes, you know, and it pushes against boundaries, right? So it's like, that's, to me, it's part of the idea. It's like, you know, let's make things that have the ability to go all sorts of different places.
And it really adds to the spy-fi that you coined.
Exactly.
There. It's
Yeah.
like
Right.
that way, and that really allows it to be in any space or time. Jerome or John, Jerome is asking in the comments, is the story you did Super Tiger? Like, was it a Super Tiger story for Darkest Image, or was it just Bruce Lee clones? Or
Yeah, well, it was, I can't remember all their names. There were 3 of them. So the storyline was, it was written by Kyle Pinion, and it was a great sort of rolling of the Phantom Force character.
Yeah, Super Tiger.
Yeah, Super Tiger.
Jin Sing.
His sons, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So Jin Sing
Super
has
Tiger,
been,
the martial
been
arts.
killed, and there are 3 sort of Bruce Lee type characters who are sort of vying to take up the helm, be the next.
Got it.
But
It was cool.
it was Kyle's take on the whole Bruce exploitation movement of Hong Kong cinema in the 70s, where you had you actually had these Bruce Lee like sort of wannabes that were trying to, you know, do their best Bruce Lee on film, and so
Which Jin Sing sort of was one, you know.
right. But yeah, Super Tiger was one of them, and I think Prince Tiger was another one.
Yeah,
That sounds
I thought
familiar.
that
And I
was really cool. That was probably my favorite thing in that book that I wasn't involved in with.
oh, thanks.
I'll put it
Yeah, a
that way.
lot of fun drawing it for sure.
Because I also ordered Barry Tan for some stuff in that book, but and
Yeah,
that's a
killer.
subject we'll talk about. We'll touch on that later. But
Yeah.
Well, let's say hi real quick to Dave Praetorius, who popped in. We didn't get
Oh,
to say
very
what's
good.
up to him. Dave's here.
Hey,
Very
guys.
good.
And say what up to Casper and Jerome Cab, who's up in here. Jerome.
It's awesome. What's going on, fellas? So glad
Too
you could
much.
join us.
Hell yeah. So what were
Dave
you
is
saying?
also in issue 3, and he had a similar assignment as his other Dave Grom did. Dave Praetorius, what do you remember about when we were talking about what your page in Ghost Agents 3 would be like?
What I remember is that, first of all, you came to me and just asked me if I'd be interested in doing it. And I was like, yeah, sure. And we basically just talked about shit getting weird.
Yep, there you go.
Outer
Weird.
space. You showed me the like astronaut guy. I still don't really even know anybody's names in the book or anything. I did
Yeah.
the one piece, and I'm still
barely
waiting on
know.
my issues to show up.
Dave, goddamn.
Well, he's in Canada. You hear him say a boot?
Yeah,
Not our
they
fault.
landed in Toronto on Friday, so I'll probably see them
okay.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
All right, I was just
But
gonna
from
check.
what I saw, my art for that, which I sent to you a week afterwards, is out for delivery towards you today. So you should actually get that sometime today if you
Oh,
get
sweet.
mail on the weekend. Anyway,
Yeah, Saturdays.
Saturdays, yeah.
so we talked about like cosmic horror a little bit in terms of just him falling through space and time and things getting weird. And I do remember coming back to you with some of my prelims early and taking it a little bit too far. I had this idea of almost
like his
kind of like
face was bleeding or
interdimensional like
something?
body horror where he's just
Yeah.
getting pulled apart into a black
Yeah.
hole. And I
forgot
said
about that.
this
And you were
illustration.
like, is this too much? And I said, yes.
yeah. You brought it back to he has to look like the guy and you can't kill him.
Yeah.
And so, I dialed back a little bit, but
Yeah. Still
Yeah.
awesome. Great page. The thing about that, so this character is called whenever you hear a creator like when I think there was like, not to compare myself to these lofty characters, but like George Lucas one time, like in some sort of an interview, like he called a lightsaber a laser sword or something, and like fandom, there was people in fandom that were like, doesn't he even know his own shit? It's like the answer is no. You kind of make it up, you write it down, other stuff happens with it, you move on to the next thing. So like often I forget the names of characters or whatever, so I have to refer back to the books and stuff to see if things are what they are. But that character that both you and Grom drew, his name is Clutch Quartermain, and he's the same guy that's in the Barry Barry's story in the first issue. Once you see that, you'll get that. And then he's also in Adam's story in the second issue. And the deal is that this guy is pining for this woman, May Zero, who's like this tough alpha chick for Ghost. And she just blows him off. And he's like so destitute about that whole situation that he volunteers to do. Yeah, there you go, Eli. He leaps into the netherworld. They cut it, they rip it open using their radioactive technology, and he jumps in. And the word balloon there that Clutch is saying, he's saying, maybe now she'll notice me.
Okay, yeah, because
Now
that was
you guys have
that was
done
one of the
great.
pieces you sent me at the start, and I had no context for that, like just to
Yeah.
get an idea of what was going on.
Right.
And I was like,
I didn't need you to have any context.
No.
I don't want anybody to ever feel like they're beholden to anyone else's work. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I would rather artists get to just completely feel free to do their shit. And like a big part of what I do, and this is something that hopefully these guys know about me, never going to pull some shit where I'm going to be like, well, I created everything. It was all me. I told them what to draw and they drew it. That's not how this works. Comics are an artistic medium. Like if we were talking about it in terms of comparing it to film, the artist is the director, the cinematographer, every actor, every bit of special effects and everything. It's and a writer is still a writer. And I'll also qualify that I'm also a producer. Right? I'm a writer / producer of Ghost Agents. It's the way that I look at what I do. So yeah, I'm always like to do it that way. Like it's like I'm going to give you just the pieces of information that you need to be creative and make your own thing. And I'm not going to be too concerned about continuity outside of that, which is, you know, like a lot of the scripts are basically the exact same way, where it's like the guy needs to look exactly like this, the monsters and whatever, go nuts. I don't care. I want you to have fun with it. You know, that's the big idea.
Awesome. Now let's see. We are at 1, 2. We're kickstarting number 3. I know you like to keep a little bit of your mouth shut about some things. Do you have plans for Ghost Agents for the future?
Oh
Are
yeah.
you trying to work with everyone? Trying to spread your wings on artists or?
Well, yeah, I intend to do Ghost Agents for as long as I'm alive. And like, this is maudlin and weird, but like earlier I was reading about an old acquaintance of mine who died of cancer at 50. And I was like, and he knew he was going to go for a while. And I was like, if I was in that predicament, what I would do is I would like quit my job and I would just start writing Ghost Agent scripts and I'd give them to Eli. And I'd be like, get as many of these made as you possibly can. Like to me, I want Ghost Agents to just keep going for as long as I'm around and maybe after, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, would I want other people writing Ghost Agents? First of all, is there enough demand to even like make it go without me? Might be a little bit megalomaniacal to assume that there is, but I would like for Ghost Agents to just keep going and going and going. I don't really have any end in sight because as we've established, it's like the full like scope of space and time. So like, even if we get to a point where it's like, you're sick of Donna Prentice stories, like you can do other characters. You can do all sorts of other characters. Those are the characters that are already in there. So that's a big part of it. One of the things too is that I sort of have like the lives and the deaths of a lot of these characters in my head. Like I know what happens to them and I know where they came from, you know, and then it sort of becomes a game of like, how much information do we want to put out there? You know, like
we could have a deaths issue where it's just you show the deaths of every single character.
Every character, like it's like the last
That
season
would
of
be
6 Feet
cool.
Under, where it's
But-
everyone died.
But it doesn't even matter because then the next issue you could just be like, oh, here's another story with this character, and it doesn't even matter because this is all over the place,
right?
Or like
Well,
space is
and when Craig gets here, or when 9 o'clock rolls around, either not when 9 o'clock rolls around, whether Craig is here or not, we're going to talk a little bit about that super tiger thing that Jerome brought up. We're going to address that because that's an important part of one of the sort of the pins.
Oh, I see.
Concept, because there's things about that I keep thinking about and going back to that I want want to talk about. So let's set that for the next 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, we're gonna.
All right, let's see. Rick, are you back in the Ghost Agents Cave? Do you have any questions you want to throw out yet?
I like how Rick like does this, and he's like
He's got like a nimbus around him. I believe is the terminology from those biblical paintings.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you're going to do anything with Ben Venice, because I'm really interested in that, actually.
Well, he's in Ghost Agents. So far he doesn't do any daring do though. Like he just kind of like shows up and sort of like gives people missions or whatever. But as far as like revisiting it and like writing more prose, maybe. I just really like doing comics. It's so much fun to write a script and like, you know, because it feels like those old, Rick, you may be too young to remember this, but the comic strip BC about the cavemen. There used to be, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was Wizard of Id and BC were written by the same dude. BC was like cave dudes. And one of the recurring things, and I read this when I was a very small kid, so it stayed in me, but like this caveman guy would take a bottle and he would put a message in a bottle and he'd throw it in the ocean and then he would wait. And there would be like two panels of like the sun going up and the sun go like, because he just was waiting for the bottle to come back and would have like an answer to whatever the question was. And that's kind of what it feels like to write a script, a comic strip, and then give it to somebody. Because it's like, you know, like Rick, you've got one for a future issue of Ghost Agents. I feel like we could go ahead and talk about that a little bit. And it's like, I just drew stuff, or I wrote stuff that I felt like you would enjoy drawing, that I think you could do dope drawing stuff. And then I'm just like, from here, it's yours. Here, you raise this baby. You know, I'll give you these, I'll just give you like a little bag of seeds, and then you have to actually make it grow and turn into something. And I'm high on that, man. You know, like basically like Ghost Agents feels like the comic that I want to read and that I want to have really badly. And I figured out a way to get you guys to make it.
No, totally. And like, because like this will be the first time I've ever like gone off of someone else's script, but even still, it's not like do this for how I fucking wrote it, you know. So it's still a little loose, which I appreciate and makes it a lot more fun for me.
Yeah, and you have some stuff in your script too that, and this is something that I like to do too, where it's like some of it, as far as like how you will have to draw it, is like really up to you in terms of like movements, you know, in terms of like actual like panel layout and all that. And, you know, for that, I love that. I love being able to just sort of like frame it so that you have a lot of agency, so to speak, to do whatever. And like
Best agency.
Yeah. Well, and I don't remember the person's name. There's somebody in the group, maybe even over a year ago now, who I kind of had a little bit of a debate with, because they were saying that a comic book writer shouldn't be a comic book writer unless he's also doing layouts and storyboards for the artists, right? And to me, it's like, I wouldn't want to do that at all. You know, like you're basically, my ability to draw topped out for me when I was in like the 7th grade.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you should have to like have some guy like do some stick figure. That doesn't sound like fun for you, and it doesn't feel like a way to help you be creative or have fun or make something interesting and cool. I think that's against the spirit of collaboration for what I like.
Yeah. Has there been a time where you're like, you have like a sequence in your mind, like as a director or something, like I need to like this fight, or like she jumps out of the helicopter and you see her like this, or something like that? Has there been like a scene in your mind?
Yeah, for sure. And part of it too sometimes is that like I'll have like the way that I would imagine the page looking, right? But then one of the sort of like the internal rules of it for me really is just like, I'm going to make it so that the artist gets to come up with this. Like, it's like, I don't want to impose my will. That's not what I'm about. Like, I don't think it leads to good things, especially when nobody's getting paid a lot of money and we're all sort of starting out here. Yeah, and really, I just sort of try to just put it in terms of like, okay, so if this, like, whatever I write out, it's like this is as much as I get in this game that we're playing. Like, this is in this game of Pictionary or whatever it is. Like, this is as many clues as I can give you. You know, I always think about there's, I believe it's in that Marvel book that Les Daniels did that was reviewed and talked about on Kayfabe some time ago.
Classic.
You know, I read that at like a very impressionable age. I got it when it first came out. I think it was like 9 or 10 years old. And there was a part in that where there was a page that Jack Kirby drew that he brought in to Stanley, and Stanley was just like, nah, you did it wrong. Go back and do it again. And, you know, without opening that can of worms of like what those two guys represented, it's like, I remember just thinking like, I wouldn't have done that, you know? I can't imagine doing that to anybody. I can't imagine anybody like coming in with their pages or their page or whatever, and me just being like, now draw it so he's standing here and draw like, now just go with the vision of the artist. Let whatever their idea was be, and maybe, you know, try to, if you had some different idea, you're gonna have another opportunity to kind of try it later. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
So, but so far, you know, all these artists that we're collaborating with have just done awesome shit. And it's just like, you know, I try to get them try to get them excited about an idea, you know, is a lot of it. And like, especially like, you know, like with a Meesey, you know, like I had a situation with Meesey, you know, where we needed like 4 pages. We needed 4 extra pages to make sure that 2 was a full book. And it was the same deal I was like with Meesey, I was like, what do you need to draw? And he was like, 2 monsters fighting, a woman, like a hot woman spy, and a like an innocent bystander. And I remember I was like laying in the tub, like texting back and forth with him, and I was like, you got it. And like I get out of the tub, and like I got my laptop and like got back in the tub and just wrote that, like just 2 monsters fighting, like you know, in 4 pages of just like monsters slamming the shit out of each other.
That's
and
great.
that's in the second issue. Everybody's got the second issue, can see that story. It's just like, you know,
just happened.
Yeah, like it's just, I always want, I never want to have a situation where a writer is like, fuck that guy, he screwed me over. Like I just like, that would be the worst thing that could happen to me. It's like, I don't ever want anybody who collaborates with me to feel like I took advantage of them or misled them or compromised their vision, you know. That's totally, and I hear so many comic book writers, I think, just do that, just offhand, just talk about artists like there's somebody you hire to mow your lawn. And it kills me, because it's just like, they're the most important part of it. That's, without them, it's not a comic book.
Right, exactly.
And I already did prose, and you know what? It didn't fucking work. Nobody bought it. So like, you know, I'm happy to be on the ride with all of us. You know, that's how I look at this thing.
Agreed. All right, I'm thinking now let's open it up to some of the artists and some of the guys that are here. Do you guys have any questions for Rocko? Is there anything about Ghost Agents you've wanted to know? Is there anything you wanted to talk to him about, your process of working with him or working in Ghost Agents, or anything anybody wants to ask? Okay.
Particularly about like the way it's promoted and produced. I'll talk about that regardless, but if anybody has any specific questions.
Well, I know Dave ran a successful Kickstarter recently as well, right? That you're fulfilling. Yeah, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've done 2 issues now, 2 successful Kickstarters. And I think that is, if things go well, that should have successfully kickstarted us, where we will be using money coming in from each issue sold to print the next issues going forward. Nice. And hopefully not have to run another Kickstarter, which is great. But yeah, I don't know that I have a specific question. I have questions about Ghost Agents, but it's like, I don't want you to spoil things for me. I know it goes like time and space and stuff, and I know we've seen future.
Well, I mean, you can ask whatever, and I'm more than happy to to tell
I
you.
think I'm curious, like, does it go deep past too? Like, or does it only begin in the 50s, or can we go back to like medieval times or ancient Rome, or
Yeah,
something like that? Like,
No comment.
how far do the ghost agents span?
As a matter of fact, Grom has a script that he's working on that involves a barbarian warrior called Grom.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Wow.
we're it's like the whole scope of space and time is wide open for ghost agents. And that's partly just because, like, if I'm gonna write these forever, I want to give myself the widest palette possible. I don't ever want to be like sick of ghost agents, you know? Like at some point I would like to, and I think I'm gonna have to get to be like a sharper writer than I am now, but like I'd like to write stories that aren't unlike Love and Rockets type stories about like Donna Prentice, you know, and like, you know, just her life and stuff like that. And I think we've already sort of hinted at that a little bit, like in the second issue where she drops acid and like people come to kill her and she has to do something about it. It's
You know who
like,
would be a good artist for a story like that is E&M.
yeah, it certainly would. So it's possible that that'll happen. I mean, it's like, I just want to make it so, like, I remember like when Star Wars was just 3 movies, like when I was in high school, and I remember like I was one of those people that never gave up on Star Wars. Like I was still into Star Wars like in 1991, you know? And I remember like me and some other nerdy friends in high school used to talk about like, what if there was like a romantic comedy that was set in the Star Wars galaxy? Like you could do that. Like you could totally do that. Now it seems like it would be overkill because they've made so much shit.
Is that Attack of the Clones?
I mean, in a way, you know, maybe an inadvertent comedy, unfortunately. Yeah, you know, like I like the idea that like it can just be anything, you know, and we'll hopefully we'll get to sort of explore that concept
I like it.
as we go. Praetorius, I want to talk to you a little bit about like your ideas about Kickstarter and how it works and your experience with it and stuff. Like the business model for ghost agents is basically, and this is kind of just like we've stumbled upon this in a way, like it wasn't necessarily how we intended to do it. I remember like I was reticent to do a Kickstarter originally. It didn't seem like, it seemed risky to me because I would always be afraid of what would happen if you didn't make the goal, because it just feels like the equivalent of just like blowing up on the tarmac, you know. But Chris Anderson, who unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight because he's either camping or he's at a wedding or some combination of those things, was like, we should do a Kickstarter. And I was like, if you say so, because I trust him. He seems like he always seems to know. And I remember that Eli was like, so you want to launch a Kickstarter? Do you still want to do it with me? And I was like, yeah, I want you to run the Kickstarter. So it's like, that's how much of a sort of like a foreign idea I feel like Kickstarter still sort of is for people, and sort of like what a new concept it is and what it can mean. But I feel like sort of like Kickstarter, the users directed version of what Kickstarter is, seems to me like and it's what we did with the first issue more or less. Like we sold under 200 copies of the first issue, but we printed like 500 copies of the first issue, which means that we now have a bunch of copies of the first issue. Fewer all the time, but we ended up with a lot of them left over. And then how we did the second issue was we sold like 165 and we only printed 200, right? So that's sort of classic case of like the first issue and then the second issue has this big drop off. So I'm thinking that how we'll do it going forward will be that we will not print more copies of any given issue, many more than we can sell in that Kickstarter, right? And just sell the leftover ones in the next one. Like, you know, the title for this Kickstarter is like very long trunk. It's like, you know, Ghost Agents #3 and #1 and 2 if you missed them, and like had to put MEM instead of them because it won't let you do any more words than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting URL, I think, when I started sharing that around.
Yeah, because we couldn't put any more words or letters in there. We hit the letter limit. And two, the Kickstarter for the second one was hard. I mean, we made it, but it was like,
Yeah.
we had to pull out all the stops. But anyway, that's my question to you. Like, what's your sort of principle about Kickstarter, and what's your experiences with it?
So, well, technically, I've only actually been a part of one of them, and that was for our second issue. I was a backer of the first issue of our book, The City, right here. And so that initially printed as a black and white comic book. And then they wanted to come, they had hit a stretch goal that would have allowed to hire a colorist on, and that's when they came to me. And when we did the second printing, which is this one here, which has all the color artwork, we were able to print that based off of sales from that first issue. So we were really trying to do something where we're not reliant on Kickstarter, which is difficult, right? Printing comic books is not cheap these days. And especially when you're printing color books.
Right.
Black and white can get a little bit cheaper, but color's expensive. And yeah, it was, we noticed, especially going into the second Kickstarter, that backers didn't really jump on board right away, especially the repeat ones, until we fulfilled issue 1 in color. Because when we printed the black and white ones, everyone asked we took a poll, everyone wanted to wait for the color version before that went out. So I think printed initially like 300 black and white copies, and we were kind of stuck with those. Oh. So we took them to Fan Expo here in Toronto in October. And then our writer, Dave Choi, he every weekend for a couple of months going into the dead of winter was setting up a little booth at Yonge Dundas Square in Toronto. And if anybody's been to Toronto, it's like the Times Square for Toronto, right? Like it's a hub right downtown. There's tons of people. There's all kinds of buskers and stuff. So he's just on the corner every weekend slinging comic books that we can make back the money on that printing.
I could see Eli doing that.
Yeah, it was very
I would definitely do that.
successful for us though too. And we tried to do things again to recoup some of that money. We were printing T-shirts, like getting iron-on transfers and printing our logo on T-shirts and getting those out there too, and bundling those with comic books and stuff, and going to local shops and trying to get them in there. And we ended up we fully sold out that version of it. We've sold out our second printing, which was another 150 copies, and third printing is on its way with issue 2, which should arrive next week. But we noticed a big change when issue 1 started showing up in people's mailboxes. That's when the backers started showing up again. They want that fulfillment, especially if you're coming in, you're coming back to them for that second Kickstarter. Yeah. People want to see that issue. And I think that's a great thing that you guys have been doing with Ghost Agents, is that, issue 2 was arriving to people with an ad right in the back for like, hey, issue 3 Kickstarter is live now. I think that's the way to do it. That keeps the momentum going, right?
Yeah, right.
And also the having a finalized product too. So
I don't like to Kickstarter anything. I never want to try to do a Kickstarter for anything that's not finished, because I don't want to. One of the big things about this too is that these guys are all friends of mine, even though I've never met any of them in person. We all were together in comics, and we are like minds and all that sort of stuff. And I don't want to fuck up any friendships over any of this. Like if it came down to like a friendship, or like get the book done or get the story done, I'd be like, well, don't worry about it. Take your time, or whatever. Like it's I always want it to be like the comics. I think I want them to always sort of be the product of the good relationships that we all have, more than anything.
Yeah. And for us, that was a big lesson learned. First issue, I think it was 7 months before people got fulfilled, because we did the color version of it, right?
Yeah.
So I think like the Kickstarter ended in July of last year, and it was January when people got them. So like 6 months, I guess. This time around, our Kickstarter ended February, and they're shipping out next week. Just still not as well as we would have liked. Like we were trying to do that sort of thing where we could fulfill, but I think I slowed it down a little bit, just because this is a side thing for me. I got a full-time job, I got 2 kids, I got all that going on. So like
Yeah.
I'm coloring comics on the couch in the evening, and trying to get this shit done, and then trying to get my own thing going on too, with like my own illustration and whatnot. So
The one thing about doing, and this is something that Eli observed, is that the one thing about doing it this way, and I think we felt better about it this time because we already had 2 down and we had 1 more in the chamber, is that like you don't get to like get off. Like you have that first issue goes out, and at the same time you're already launching a new Kickstarter. So it's like people are getting them and they're like, whoa, good job. And you're like, yeah, thanks. Okay. You want to buy the new one? You want to buy the new one?
Next
You
issue.
buy the
Yeah.
new one? You know, now I'm much more relaxed about it. Like I don't have any, and it helps that we beat the goal in 3 days. So it's like, you know, by the time people started getting their books, we'd already beat the goal. The second issue would already beat the goal for the third one. So it's kind of like, oh, well, then
Okay.
what are we worried about? I'll tell you something I think we found out this time about the way Kickstarter works is that Kickstarter projects we love thing that they put on your projects, if they deem
they
it,
love 'em.
they just, I don't know what they do, but I suspect that they decide to do that based upon how quickly you make like a sizable amount of your goal.
Yeah,
right?
it seems like it.
Yeah, because the second issue, we went from I think a $4,000 goal to a $6,000 goal. And our thinking was we got $6,000 on the first one. I wanted to build in the payment to the artist to $100 page rate. I want all the artists to get paid automatically off this successful Kickstarter. And it was rough. I mean, we were like, I mean, it was stressful. We were like 2 or 3 weeks in before we beat $2,000 of our $6,000 goal. And I was like thinking about how I was going to get the money to bail it out. And then if I did have to bail it out, then would it be something that's even like, or should you even consider keeping doing it? You know, like I'm not a young dude. I'm 43 years old. I'm not an old guy, but I'm not a young guy. And it's like, maybe that would be a sign that it's not working. And like the second issue is awesome. Like the second issue is better than the first issue. And I can say that without hurting everybody's feelings. It's all the same person, people that were in the first issue were in the second issue. We were just kind of figuring it out more. So like I knew that the work was dope, and it was just kind of like, man, am I going to have to come up with $6,000 to pay to have my own Kickstarter work? And it's, you know, would have been sad if that happened. But you know, the sophomore slumps, the second time you do anything, it kind of always sort of tends to be harder, but you kind of like figure out what your rhythm is and what your deal is.
Well, everyone sees our rhythm too, and is like, "Oh my god!" Sorry, a huge bird just flew past the window. If they see that you're on track and that you're delivering and that you got the book, and they're like, "Hey, shit, I like this book," and the second one's already coming out. Oh shit, the third one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very
we
proud
hooked
of
them then. Yeah.
Very proud of us for that, because it is, you're right. It's like, you know, 2 books in 1 year like that, you know, 6-month period, like that could kind of be a fluke, you know.
Yeah.
3 books. We're kind of talking about another thing now, you know. That's when you're in another neighborhood.
I agree.
So it was very good to see it happen. And we got the projects we love on the first one. We got a lot of funding very quickly for the first one, and we got, you know, we beat it in 3 or 4 days with the third time. We got one of those projects we love things. So I think that's how that works. We didn't get on the second. I think if you're already at like 30% of your goal by the end of your first day, I think they're like, okay, this looks like something that we can attach our names to.
Yeah.
And then that means they post about it in their own places. And
A
stuff.
question for you. When we got that projects that we love designation, I mean, is there a way to see how many new patrons from that? I mean, was it noticeable or is it not so much?
That's a really hard thing to sort of figure out, because like what'll happen is like Eli and I, like at the end of the whole thing, we'll kind of go through and be like, do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? Who's this woman? And like, that's kind of how we can tell. But outside of that, no, we really don't know. You know, there's no way
It
of
doesn't
knowing.
show you. It doesn't show you like exact times, or like you
Yeah.
can't. I don't know. I've never just like watched the like backers pop in or anything. I've seen the
Yeah,
money go.
yeah.
I don't know. Have you done that?
I've kind of watched it when I'm like obsessing over it. And it's funny because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, like I lost a day of work, I'll admit, because it's like I was trying to write stories and I just had to keep obsessively going back to look at the Kickstarter, and I had to make up for it that night. But you know, like I had an instance where I bought I'm a wrestling fan, so I'm getting these AEW fan crate things, and it had an air freshener for a character called Orange Cassidy that I don't care about. So like I sold that on eBay. I had so many copies of Ghost Agents 1 laying around that I decided it would be cheaper to use a Ghost Agents 1 as packing than go buy some bubble tape or whatever. So I put this air freshener inside of Ghost Agents 1 and I mailed it to this woman, and she wrote me back and said, thanks so much for the air freshener, but thanks even more for the comic. It's dope. And she funded number 2. She bought a package on 2.
Wow.
So it's like, you really never know like who you might reach or who you might get to. And like, I do a lot of like little shit that I don't even talk to Eli about. Like I'll do like the thing where you can like boost a post on Facebook for like $12 for a few days, like 6 days. And just like, who knows, it'll get somewhere, maybe, you know.
Dude, I'm sorry. Oh, you got me so sidetracked because I now am looking online that yes, we could custom make our own air fresheners for Ghost Agents 3. We could have Ghost Agents 3 air fresheners in a variety of flavors, over 10, 15 flavors, strain, color, quantity.
That's awesome.
212 for 250. It's cost effective.
It is.
Ghost
And I'm
Agents
glad you
4.
mentioned this because
Ghost Agents 4, yeah.
we are not in the comic book business. The comic books are a total drain on the rest of our business, which is actually posters, stickers, buttons, t-shirts, mugs, all that merch. Because you know, a poster costs like under $1 to print, and you can sell that for $10. We've decided as a civilization that $10 is what you pay for a poster, and it's always been $10. I was talking to somebody about this today. Like $10 for a poster was the going rate in 1989, and it still is in 2024 for some reason.
Like
because with a comic book you get like 20 posters just bound, so it's like
right. Yeah, it's so funny how that works, and it's you know, like costs like $2.50 to $3 to print, and then like $5. That's sort of one of the things that happened when we had a bunch of extra Ghost Agents, because it's like I took them to my favorite local comic shop, you know, and there's definitely that moment of like, because I had posters and I was like, look at this. And I have the comics, and like they're like, all the people that work there are like, you weren't fucking lying. You really were working on a comic book. You really did it. Here it is. Cool. They buy 4 of them, right? I get half of what they can sell them for, which means I get $2.50 on the comic book that cost us $3 to print. And then here we are like 3 months later, and they've only sold 2 of those 4 comics. So you kind of have this feeling of like, is this the best use of this? Is this the best way for this to be successful? Or is it better if it's like on the internet? You become like a little bit of an internet sensation, you know? That same shop also has some copies of Image Grand Design. And it's always funny because like every so often there'll be somebody who will float along that's like, I never got Image Grand Design. I'll kill my mother if you give me one. And it's like, or you can call The Great Escape in Louisville, Kentucky. They have one on the shelf.
Noted.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's funny how that works too, you know? So one of my big spirit animals with that is Copra, Michel Fife, or Michael Fife, depending on how long you've known that his name is actually Michel Fife. He sells his comic on Etsy, you know, and he was like the Wonder Kid for a while. And then he got a deal with Image, and he pulled the plug on that after like 6 or 7 months because he didn't like it as much. He'd rather sell his comic on Etsy. Just having him just kind of like go to the shop where all the Marvel zombies go in and just like skip right over it so they can buy, you know, Civil War 3, Mockingbird, one shot, whatever it is, you know, like it's just kind of depressing in a way. I'd kind of rather do it like this, you know, and have it show up in the mail for people who are really psyched to get it.
I had a question for Dave. So you had mentioned that you're using Kickstarter, hopefully at some point, moving away from it. Does that come after you've raised a certain amount of capital for printing? What's the plan to, and what are you going to do after Kickstarter to keep the comic out there? What's the
So
scheme?
along with issue 2 launching next week, we're also launching our online store. So we'll be able to sell through the store and sell that way and promote our own online store, as opposed to saying, go fund our Kickstarter, come to our store and order a book. And so with Kickstarter getting us, the money to get printed, and then being able to sell those issues, we've been able to, have a little bit of capital in the bank now. We don't do big print runs, by any means. I think our biggest print run was 300. We do maybe like 100 to 150 per run. If those sell out and we have the money to go back, we'll do that. Like I said, issue 1 is going in for its 3rd printing. And I think that's another 150 copies. So total, that puts us up to 600 that will have been printed total of that one. And then 150 of 2 are getting done. And I think that covers, a decent amount. Our books aren't cheap, unfortunately, because of the high printing costs and stuff too. So we try to at least make back like that cost and then a little bit for us as well. And that little bit for us just goes into production for other merch. Rocko talking about selling posters and stuff. Yeah, when we do cons and stuff, we sell more t-shirts and stickers than we do comic books most of the time. We have to bundle the comic books, like take a comic book with you when you buy a ship. Because we just want to get that out there. Like, you're gonna buy a shirt to support our book, have the book too.
Yeah. What they call in retail a loss leader. It's the reason that like DVDs are in the
but it's a lot of that merch too that's helped us
of the store, because they want you to walk through the store and buy other shit while you're there.
Yeah, and that merch has also helped us like build that capital as well. Being able to sell a t-shirt for $20 that costs us maybe 10 to make, or $25 even, like, we're doubling that money back on, and then able to roll that back into printing or into more merch or something like that. We're looking at doing, other avenues for merch as well that is more like print on demand kind of thing. So looking at like TeePublic or like, I think Society 6, things like that, where I think Ghost Agents is on TeePublic as well, right?
It is. We don't talk about it much. I don't mind that you brought it up, but it's like during Kickstarters, because we want to siphon all the money that way. Because TeePublic does take a lot of your money, but you also, it's totally passive income.
Yeah.
You put your stuff on there, and it's like, I have like here handy, like they make note. This is the Sam J. Royale Ghost Agent symbol. This is the Barry Tan art, and like, it's just amazing that you can get this stuff that would have been at Spencer's with Batman on it in 1989.
Yeah, or Eli's t-shirt there. And
yeah, that is also a
and if somebody's back in the Kickstarter and they want to get the merch too, like having something there that, right now, if we want to sell a t-shirt, we're buying blanks, we're printing, we're ironing that stuff on, we're making our own stickers. Like, we do everything other than the printing of the comics. We do it all on like home printers and just
and like, one of the things that's cool that you're doing that yourself, that's the whole thing. Eli bought a button maker, and he was like the what was the name of the steel driving man? Yeah, look at that. Who was
Nice.
the guy, like the old folk tale about the guy who tried to like hammer more nails?
John Henry.
Yeah, he was like the John Henry of buttons. And Eli told me last week or earlier this week that he's not going to be able to make that many buttons anymore. Which I understand.
You get a cramp, Eli? What happened?
No, it's just, I think I was just like mad at him at the time. Like, I think I could do it more, but it's just like,
okay,
for fulfilling like a big thing like this, I found it's not really cost effective. I mean, it's not any different really than getting them from Sticker Mule or whatever, but we're like, oh, we need all these different colors.
Yeah, because that's part of the fun for me. So they come in many different colors and styles. Basically, I want to get back to what we were just saying, but also I just want to point out that the idea of the logo here is created by Sam J. Royale, who's a great artist and actually works in design, does a lot of cool stuff. to me, that, yeah, look at that. That gets stamped on all the stuff that we get. We
awesome.
that has to do with Ghost Agents. But to me, that symbol means artists get paid. That symbol means let's make comics and let's make money making comics. So let's maybe break open. So like, I always want Ghost Agents, like Dave, like I'd love to help you promote your stuff, cross promote, all of us just making things, just sort of working together, because nobody's just buying one comic book a year out there. I don't feel like we're in any kind of competition of any sort. So I really want it to feel like sort of a coalition type of a thing. And I wanted to make sure I said that before our time was up. But going back just to merch and the idea of merch in general, like one of my local friends who's like a Marvel DC zombie guy, doesn't really buy a lot of independent comics, was like, why is your book so expensive? Because to just get a copy of Ghost Agents through the Kickstarter, the only physical thing you get is the comic, and it's $10. You also get the digital version of the comic, and you get other bonus stuff that we'll send you. And it's like, well, so I don't feel good about that either. But the workaround is there's the early bird kit, or since that's now expired, there's the full mission brief or whatever it's called, where it's like, okay, well then if you give another $5, we'll send you a button, we'll send you a sticker sheet, and we'll put other sort of ephemera in there to help make it less of a blow. So that way, like, you do spend extra money to support this and you get more stuff. And it's like, again, it's just sort of like what people are sort of conditioned to feel like isn't cool, isn't a big deal. Like, it's like, $10 for a poster is crazy when you know that posters literally cost less than $1 to print.
Yeah.
It's just like, these are the mindsets that people have about things. And
well, you're not just paying for the paper, you're paying for the sweat equity, you're paying for the whole thing in there.
And
and that goes with all art, I think, like comes with a amount of belief in there and worth from like me getting a piece of this thing, and these people.
We can't just be breaking even.
Yeah.
That just ain't gonna work.
I got to make a profit on this thing. Who am I, Rick from fucking Pawn Stars? I mean, if I buy this from you, it's the
right.
whole.
Yeah. That's part of what, like for you, Praetorius, to you guys to get out of the Kickstarter thing. Because to me, the Kickstarter thing is like, people just sort of like, they're either already familiar with Kickstarter and they're comfortable with how that system works, or just sort of like they immediately kind of see how it falls into place, and they don't seem to have as much issue with like throwing money at it, which is nice.
I feel like we could do the same thing by having pre-orders on my website and just have like one page you go to that has all the tiers listed. And if they're not really tiers, they're just different packages you can get. And we'll be like, we're going to go put Ghost Agents on sale for a month, and you can only buy it within that month or something, do something like that and be like, here's the thing, we're running it.
Yeah. And that's
Cosmic Starter.
You were talking about with like print on demand and like, just having it be like second printings, you have second printings. Is that no matter how much I feel like people think it would work for things to not have a certain enforced scarcity, that doesn't actually work on any of us. Like all comic book people have this sort of like innate OCD that's part of our deal. And it's like, if a book comes out, I don't know about you, but I never think, oh, I'll just get that later. Like I never think that.
I'm like, I need to get in there and immediately and like call the store. Is it in my poll, or did you get enough from the order?
Sometimes
if it's something you really want,
Eli will tell you I've been sweating them all week about this new Jasper Jubenville Dynamite.
Yes.
Even book that like he was able to get the last one. It's like, are you sure
it's crazy?
The right one? Because it's gone now. It's going to be on eBay for $300 by the end of next week, I guarantee you. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like you have to sort of like have that idea of like buy it now, and you have to be willing. If you're going to pull that thing out, you got to be ready to bang. Like you can't get the second issue of Ghost Agents now. No.
I think that is a good thing, because that does promote that scarcity.
Yeah. And it's like I get messages from people, they're like, can I just try it? And it's like, I only have one. And
it's like drops. It's like the drops theory from like shoes and shit, where they're just like, here's the drop. It's only this place, and it's all sold out in like a fucking second. You know,
consumers.
If we have a month-long drop on Cosmic Lion, that's like there's all these packages, and then like if there's any left, the next month you can buy just the book.
Right.
But during the drop month, you can buy the T-shirt, you can buy the poster, you can buy the package, you can buy all the shit.
Yeah. The most humane way to do it. I know that Rick and I both like collect toys and action figures and stuff, and it's like having to go to stores, having to go to some Walmart where the employees are making minimum wage, they don't want to deal with your shit. Or like, you know, something will show up on like the Hasbro website and it sells out immediately because dudes have bots and stuff. Like that seems like such an inhumane way of doing it. But like to me, a Kickstarter is a really healthy way to do it. You have a month.
It's regulated. It's like
I'm gonna post about it twice a day, every day for 30 days. So like, you know, you have all of this opportunity to get in on it. They don't take your money until the end, all that shit that we always talk about. So it's funny how that works, you know. We got some good questions in the thing here. Let's
ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from outside of Toronto, Canada, the one and only Craig CK.
Oh, good.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, dude?
Oh, you know, living the dream.
Craig, I wanted to wait until you were here to start talking about Super Dragon, which also means to start talking about image grand design.
Wait, is this like
going backwards a little?
Yeah, 2019.
I just want to touch on it. On it.
Yeah, what's up?
We were talking a little bit about how Mr. Burkett, the way that I became familiar with his work was that I saw his Super Tiger story in Darkest Image, and Jerome was curious about how that might have tied back into the things that we worked on, and I wanted to sort of get into that, talk about like what Super Dragon is and what Super Dragon kind of like represents, not only back then, all the way back then to the beginning of my relationship with all of you guys, which started with Craig, through to now, right? And how that happened was maybe like the fourth day after the shit really hit the fan with COVID, Craig had a Zoom link in the Cartoonist Kayfabe Ringside Seats group, and I joined it, and then Craig and I started talking. Craig is in Canada, and I am in Kentucky. So, you know, may as well be on two different planets. But we got to talking comics, obviously. Craig asked me if I was familiar with a Jack Kirby Image comic that had Bruce Lee in it. I said no. And he said, well, you're a writer and I'm an artist. That's what he said to me. Why don't we collaborate on image grand design? And that was basically like I ran off and joined the circus and never looked back. So that's I always owe that to Craig, that without him I wouldn't have met any of these guys, or I would have maybe, but I wouldn't have already sort of been like brought into it. So the Bruce Lee character, and Craig, does this sound right so far?
Yeah, that's all factual. It's on point.
Okay. Right, so,
quick side note too. And Grom can attest to this, because I remember when we jumped onto the Zoom with you guys, it seemed like you and Craig had already known each other for years.
I was
like,
about to say that. I thought you guys knew each other and were like, we're doing this. Like,
that's awesome. No, we just had a couple days at that point, if that.
Yeah.
No, we as you get older, when you meet people, you sort of like, if you have a lot of things in common, you sort of immediately meld, you know? And that's sort of, it's one of the things that we have that's great as dudes. I don't know that women have that as much, but like guys are able to sort of like have a trustworthy, we sort of trust each other quicker than I think women do. It's not to say that women can't be friends with each other or anything like that.
All right, next topic. Keep going.
Yeah, right. Well, let me keep this moving. So the Bruce Lee character in this image book was called Ginseng, right? Like the ginseng, like the pill you take to help your memory. which was sort of like inadvertently racist. I don't think anybody told Jack that maybe that wouldn't be too cool to call the Asian guy ginseng. But there was also a pinup with that character where they called him Super Tiger of the Martial Arts, like ginseng, semicolon, Super Tiger of the Martial Arts. So it's like, why don't we call him Super Tiger? And we'll give him kind of a complex that he doesn't like to be called ginseng. And like the Super Tiger character sort of became like, he was sort of the original character in a lot of ways that was created out of this collaboration out of Image Grand Design. He was kind of like the Winter Soldier of Image Grand Design. When you take Bucky, you take Winter Soldier. They're basically two different characters. That's what we did with this guy. So I don't want to leave anybody out, but I know that Rick did what we called a fake cover, like a sort of an internal cover with Super Tiger. And Jerome did a great piece with Super Tiger, where he actually added the story flourish that Super Tiger was given the name Ginseng by Vince McMahon because he was a wrestler. And that's fucking perfect, because that's exactly something Vince McMahon would do, because he's a dirty old man and a racist. And he would, in a heartbeat, give a guy like that the name Ginseng, take a guy like Bruce Lee and say, what can we do? I'll call him Ginseng. You go in there, you're dressed like a giant yellow pill. Like he would actually do that to a guy of that ability and stature. So anyway, Super Tiger was very much like the it boy coming out of Image Grand Design in a very real way. So one of the things that we have going on in Ghost Agents is we have our own sort of like Bruce Lee knockoff. Basically, there's a character in Ghost Agents that is much like the Bruce Lee character in Enter the Dragon, hopefully as any lawsuit would allow. I hope we don't find out the hard way whether or not we can do that. But it's like one of the big ideas of Ghost Agents is like, you know, the world was cheated of having a Bruce Lee that could grow old and go on past the point that he died. But like that character will be an old man in Ghost Agents. Like we'll see what that character looks like today. He'll be an old guy and he'll still be doing kung fu and all that sort of stuff. So there's a certain sort of I don't want to say continuity, but there's certainly like a symmetry throughout, from the very beginning, the very, very first conversation that I ever had that brought me into this, into forever, because I want to keep telling stories about these Bruce Lee type characters.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird thing for me, because I know they continued on with it like in Darkest Image or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, like it's not my fucking character by any way, shape, or form, but I was a little it got my hackles up, I'll say that, because it was just kind of like, I don't know, I think because of the overall experience from IGD.
sure.
And then it felt like it was our property, you know what I mean? So that I had to like take a deep breath and be like, hey, hold on, like it's, you know, it is what it is.
I can tell you that the thing that Dave Praetorius, or not Dave Praetorius, John Burkett. John, are you still on the call?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Your picture is no longer over in the right column. Like
Oh.
Who did you say wrote that again?
Kyle Pinion.
I loved it. I felt like, because it kind of picked up after, spoilers for the few people that want Image Grand Design but haven't got it yet. Super Tiger dies. And like this story picks up like after his death. So it's like, to me, it was a very fitting and a healthy story, and I thought your art was great, and you know, it was what turned me on to you and what brought you into the family, as it were. So
yeah, there was nothing, the artwork that I saw, because I know you showed it to me, because I remember I was pretty, as most of you who do know me, I'm pretty vocal when I'm rattled. I know I was
look at it, it's fucking
and it kind of silenced me. So whoever did the art, whoever is here who did it. Oh, great job, buddy. Great job.
John Burkett. Ghost Agent's own John Burkett.
There we go.
So yeah, and Jerome has a story with this new Bruce Blank type character as well, going forward in Ghost Agent. So to me, it's like, I've always said that like like Bruce Lee can do anything. I think Bruce Lee, there should be a cheat code in every video game to give you Bruce Lee. Like not just the UFC game. I want to have like Bruce Lee in Super Mario, you know, like I feel like anytime that I can get Bruce Lee going, it's always going to be cool. And like, you know, one of the most iconic human beings of all time. And so that verve is continuing. I don't remember if that was Jerome's exact question, but it was like something to that effect.
I don't know what question I was supposed to have asked.
Something about Super Tiger.
I just got back in. Sorry, guys.
Oh, in the
Somebody
comments.
asked something. Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, that was my question in the comments. Was I know you've written prose. I know you've written prose novels.
Oh sure,
right?
Yeah.
Are any of those? Are you going to adapt those, or have you already adapted those? Is that part of the Ghost Agents canon, or is it like proto Ghost Agents?
It is. It
Oh,
is.
we
canon.
did this already. Yeah.
Well, no, but this also touches on something else. That's
All right,
interesting to talk about.
Okay. Geez, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jerome.
No, it's cool. Everything's cool. Everything's cool, buddy. It's cool. It's cool.
It's not.
I don't want to adapt them, but they are part of the canon. And what this sort of leads to is like, if anyone is ever going to like make any sort of like movies or like even like cell phone camera, like no budget movies of Ghost Agents, or like radio plays or anything like that. My big idea and something that I think would be cool, and I've always wanted this with everything that I see that's like comic book related, is for it to not be like the movie version of Ghost Agents. It would be like a Ghost Agents story that is part of the whole narrative. The whole continuity is all one thing, right? So like if somebody came to me and they were like, I want to do a Ghost Agents movie, first of all, I'd want them to be good at what they make and me like their work. But I would like write a script with like all different characters, and they would maybe like reference Don Apprentice and Ben Venice, you know, like it would be like a standalone thing, so that like if you watch the movie and you read the comic and you read the Ben Venice, it's like seamless, like it's all the same world. Like one thing doesn't like give you another version or an adapted version. I would like for it to all sort of be part of the same narrative.
And it seems like if you were to make like a movie and you put it in that way, it kind of does like save the brand, just you know, in case it bombs. Like I think that's I don't know if you guys have caught the new Usagi Chronicles.
I heard of it.
They use the Stan Sakai art in like flashbacks and stuff like that. So it's not really Usagi. It's you know, it's somebody that read about Usagi, right? So if it goes bad, like you can't get mad at the Stan Sakai Usagi, because if they did the Stan Sakai Usagi and they messed it up, it'd have been over, right? It'd have been like,
and that'll tank your shit. I mean, like Howard the Duck obviously is owned by Marvel, but like, you know, Howard the Duck, people don't know this or remember this, but like before that movie, Howard the Duck was like hip shit. It was like this really fucking like cool, funny, satirical comic about this duck who smoked a cigar, and then the movie sucked ass and it destroyed it. Like it fucking ruined Howard the Duck for several generations.
You didn't like Howard the Duck?
I never actually saw it.
What?
I saw enough of it to know that it wasn't.
Yeah, it's campy as fuck. It's not like a good movie by any means. It's
Which
just
the comic
started the MCU.
Right. Well, so at any rate, and also mentioning MCU, like this sort of leads right into that. I don't want to get too far down this road, but like in the new Doctor Strange movie, and this is a very, very minor spoiler, so I don't think anybody who hasn't seen the movie can say this. But like you find out that in the multiverse, the Earth in which the MCU has taken place, that's Earth 616. They call it 616, just like they do in the comics. So any like fantasy that you may have had, that like there's the Marvel Comics universe and there's the movie universe, and they're two different universes.
It can't intersect.
Like we can figure out a way to like, you know, no prize it out.
Well, if they Roger Rabbited up, like the new Chip and Dale movie,
right, or something, you know. But it's like they just basically by doing that, the MCU people have just said, no, the comics aren't anything to do with this. Like the
different
version,
medium, so
the version of
different.
Spider-Man that has an old lady, Aunt May, will never meet the Tobey Maguire. Well, I guess Tobey Maguire.
Toby's got an old lady, Aunt May.
I know it's not a good example.
She's passed on though in that universe.
Sure she has. Yeah. She was already 90 when they made that. But like, basically what I'm getting at is like, I never want to have that feeling when you see a movie where it's like, this isn't like the comic, and I read the comic for no fucking reason. There's this. You know, like that's how I'd want it to be, and that's the way that I would imagine that working best if it ever comes.
You wouldn't want to hear. You wouldn't want to hear. This is not like the comic. That's
right.
Not
Yeah. And I mean, making a movie, like I've been in like quote unquote movies. Like a movie can be made with like very low budget, you know. So like when I say a movie, I don't mean like I think Universal is going to call me next week or any of that kind of shit. Like it just sort of like, if somebody was going to make something like that, then I would obviously want to really vet it and make sure that it's in line with what I want it to be. But that would be the way I would do it. It wouldn't be an adaptation. It would just sort of be like,
it's a new story.
Yeah.
I'd almost think that Ghost Agents would lend itself better to animation than like actual film.
Yeah.
Especially like all the acid, like trippy type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that would translate way better with being animated.
That's true. Yeah, because when it was going to be one of those types of stories, then yeah, it would definitely be best to be animated or have a high enough budget that it could be done. I don't know if you guys ever saw if you guys were into Mad Men, the show Mad Men, but the guy with white hair, the character was called Roger Sterling. Like he's like, you know, World War II vet, white hair, cigarettes, angry guy. And he drops acid like in a controlled environment. And like the acid episode of Mad Men is some of the best TV I've ever seen in my life. And there's really no special effects, but the special effects that are there are hilarious. Like there's like a scene where like he goes to like light a cigarette, and then they cut away. When they come back, he's still got the cigarette. It's all ash. And he like doesn't know how it happened. And like clearly like 10 minutes passed and a bunch of shit happened that he didn't realize. So, you know, there's ways to kind of get around that. But yeah, I would want it to be fucking weird and wild and crazy.
I mean, a TV show too, like that episodic anthology style. You can get different directors each episode, different style, different ghost agent, different time period, different everything. Every episode or something like that is different.
I would definitely want to have it in like something like that, because I don't want to lose what we have with it, you know, because like it would suck if it got taken away and well, first of all, it would be me they would be giving the money to, and I wouldn't feel good about that. So it's like there'd be all this money theoretically, and it would be like, okay, we're going to take your baby and we're going to raise it, and they're going to make it into something else. And then it's like, we don't have Ghost Agents anymore, or we do, but now everybody knows Ghost Agents is a movie that bombed, you know, or like as something else. So like, you know, that Eastman and Laird kind of scenario is very rare. You don't really have that happen too much. I'd be happy if we kind of remained at this level forever, to be honest with you. I want you guys to make more money off your work, you know, like that's always the thing. And I would like for Eli and I to basically make some money at some point. That would be nice. But like I would be okay if we just kind of kept doing this. If we could get to the point to where everybody who worked on Ghost Agents made like a nice little chunk of change and could maybe have it be supplemental to making a good living, that would be perfect for me. That's what I would like to see happen, and what I hope happens, you know, and that's what I'm working on. You know,
I thought we were getting a tank.
We might get a tank.
We have a tank. Yeah, we're getting a tank.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. But that would be the way to do it. I wouldn't want somebody to come in and like, and that would be weird too, because like casting some of these characters would be tough. Like Donna Prentice is a 6'6" woman. Yeah, like it's like, you know, it would be hard to cast a lot of these characters. So I would want it to even not be these characters, and it would be like sort of tied in a way to keep.
To see who we audition a bunch of people and see who you like.
Yeah.
Well,
we're way ahead of ourselves, but that's definitely
yeah. We're going out in realm of dreams now. But since we have Craig here, why don't we didn't get to chat with him at the beginning. So why don't you and Rocko, why don't we find out about like originally how Craig came into the fold for Ghost Agents and
sure. Yeah.
And then a little the Next Panel Press
absolutely
Ghost Agent series.
Yeah, because we're both psyched about that too, and that's something that's really cool that we're doing.
Yeah.
So Image Grand Design, there was a point on Image Grand Design. I did all the work I did on Image Grand Design, or most of the work that I did on Image Grand Design was at the beginning, because it was like we took the video in which Ed Piscor laid it out and turned it into sort of a narrative. And I wrote the parts that I wrote, which weren't all that many. But everybody kind of had their marching orders of like, this is what needs to get established on these pages. This is what this is. This is what that is. And then there was sort of a sense of like, hurry up and wait at that point for me, because artists had to, of course, draw all that stuff and figure out how they're going to lay it out and how they're going to present the stories and tell the stories that we needed to get the full book. So, you know, I was sort of like in this mode of like doing all this stuff, and then there was like nothing to do all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because everybody had lives to lead and they had to do their stuff and live with the conditions of COVID at the same time as they were working on these comics in their spare time. So I had this idea of doing a sort of a spin-off of the Ben Venice stuff, something that would kind of work in the same vein, based on like in England, G.I. Joe is called Action Man, right?
Yeah.
And I have a few of those figures and I've like tricked them out. And like one of the things about G.I. Joe and this Action Man character is that like they were barely characters. Like before the 80s G.I. Joe is like Barbie. Like what's Barbie's story? Barbie, whatever the kid's imagination is what the story is. So like I sort of imagined this character who would be like that kind of like rough and tumble guy, spy character, like sort of like not a totally flat personality, but just sort of a procedural type of storytelling with a character like this. And I had a thing once that I saw on social media where it was like, your spy name is your middle name and the last thing that you ate. And in my case, it was Michael Almond. I just had some almonds and I was like, that actually is a pretty fucking dope spy name. But Michael seemed a little bit too pedestrian, so made it Max. So Max Almond, like this character, like Max Almond, that's the first thing that there was. And he's like a generic tough guy, right? And I had this idea that like comic strips would be a cool way to do it, because same deal as like with Ben Venice, we're talking about short attention spans, both my own and readers. And that's what that shit's all about. So that was like the first sort of idea of what would be like a comic book that would be based in that world. And of course the name would be Ghost Agent, right? Because the ghost thing had already been established in Ben Venice, stands for global hierarchy of secret tactics. And it's like, okay, so this is Ghost Agent, it's a spin off of that. And I just like very quickly just like banged out like strip after strip after strip after strip for what would end up being like 30 pages of that. Because you know how it is, I'm sure that you guys all understand this, when you've like been working on something rather intently for a long time, or even for like a short time, and then you're done. It's very hard to like, so that original Ghost Agent, those Ghost Agent strips were sort of like the cool down project for like the creative contribution that I had to Image Grand Design. So I wrote all that stuff with Craig in mind. And the idea was always that Craig would be the guy that would draw those, and didn't really quite know what we would do with them. And then Craig was like, well, all right, I still got to do these pages for Image Grand Design. And Craig obviously has a life to lead, just like the rest of us. So we kind of all went in different directions. But I'm very proud to say that now that original Ghost Agent project, which Ghost Agents is kind of like a spinoff of. You know, with Ghost Agents, we kind of live in a world where everybody saw Laverne and Shirley before they saw Happy Days, kind of. If you can follow me on that, that's a comparison. But in between time, Ghost Agents got up and running, as did Next Panel Press, which is of course a sort of a ongoing series of series with that sort of newspaper strip idiom. And now we're able to kind of like revisit the thing together after we've sort of had our own individual successes and combine it. So there's actually this Ghost Agents Next Panel Press project that's currently unfurling, which is very exciting. So that's the other thing we have to talk about right now.
Exactly. Yes. All right. So it started on Next Panel Press a couple weeks ago.
How long have we been going now, Craig? Like, is it a month?
I think, because it's bi-weekly, right? So
I'd be a month and a half.
Yeah, we were about 6 weeks in, I think. I think 3 or 4 of them are up. The first weekend they got a double shot, and then we got it back to like one drop per every other week. So I think we're 4. I think we're on the 5th for this upcoming week.
Yeah,
coming up.
And it's very cool. I mean, the way that it's coming together, it's cool because it's like Craig is my first ever collaborator. I sounded drunk as shit when I said that.
Collaborate.
The first artist I ever collaborated with on this sort of thing, to come back to it being this, and it's like, you know, every time I see a strip or like a group of the strips, it's like, fuck yeah, like it feels like a little Christmas every time. It's like this is cool, and it's been long enough that I kind of forgot what the story of the Max Allman thing is. But
I love how, like, when you're explaining, you're like, I just kind of threw this together, and like I printed it out. I have a printout, and it comes with me wherever I go because I have to like keep going back and forth to refer to it, and it's literally 30 fucking pages long.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know, I just fucking went for it, you know, and like, it's kind of one of those things, and it's like I'd imagine that artists kind of feel this way too, but it's like the ideas are either in here or they're out there, you know, and it's like writing them down or drawing them is kind of like grabbing them and wrestling them and like forcing them into being is how that feels a lot of the time. Yeah. So like, you know, a lot of the Max Allman stuff is like stories that were already kind of living in my head for a while, you know? So like to finally be able to, it's just an amazing thing. I mean, it's very self-fulfilling and very I get a real sense of fulfillment about just the work being made and finished and the collaborative process of it, because it really is like, wow, man, like I just sort of dreamed that up, or dreamed the nucleus of that up, and then somebody else made it something, right? Like that's how it feels to me. I never, like, I know guys, like local guys who are like comic book writers, or they want to be comic book writers. And again, I said this before, it's like when they talk about an artist, like I can just tell being their artist would suck. It would just be like having to do what you're told by this guy. And that's not at all interesting to me. So it's very cool to see the way that Craig and the different influences that Craig has that come to bear. Like, I just love it. I think that the collaborative process of this stuff, the stuff that gets made it's much better than I would ever be able to do on my own, even if I could draw. I would honestly say that. Like, even if I was an artist, like Ghost Agents would not be as cool if I drew it all, because it's like the different sort of like different
styles, different stories. Because then you wouldn't have done the anthology format, maybe even because it was just you. It'd be
and it's
that
like,
adds a lot.
That really does, and it just makes it like so fulfilling, you know, and just so neat. I think it reads well too. Like I think like it actually like I think you can sort of feel that, because I don't want to let anybody down, and I kind of feel like it's the same way the other way too. So it's like we all just sort of like want to bring our fucking A grade, you know. It's like it's all about just like making some dope shit and making sure that it gets out and that people see it and
Well, let's hear from Craig a little bit. How's it been working on this comic? How has the creative process from your side? How's it been going with that?
It's a lot easier for me than probably Rocko, because I know I can be very hard to work with at times. I'm very moody and temperamental.
I'm not gonna let you off the hook that you are moody, but I've never thought of you as being hard to work with.
No, yeah, I guess some of it comes from being sometimes a bit too overpassionate and stuff like that. But Rocko and I have always seemed to manage to get shit done, and I think that's the big thing. And to realize that, hey, like Rocko knows how to deal with me, so it's like he can let me rant and rave, and then take it a step back and stuff, and
I generally agree with you. I mean, I agree with the things that you feel strongly about most of the time.
Yeah,
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it's just so that stuff's been a lot of fun to to learn and to work through. I love drawing it. It's tough at times. Like, I haven't done very many comics. You know what I mean? I draw single images and I put it on skin. Like, that's how I work. So sometimes it's pretty challenging to try to keep. But I think
that's part of what makes your work really interesting. Like, I think, okay, so this is like one of those things where it's like, I haven't even sorted out my own feelings about this, but like, Lichtenstein obviously was a motherfucker, right? I mean, like, stole people's work outright, but I still really liked the way his work looked. There was something about the way his work looked that I thought was fucking cool. There was something about the way it was transposed. I don't even know if it was deliberate, but there was a certain sort of an urgency to it that I think is cool. And I think that you are able to sort of, you're able to like capture that feeling. So like there's panels in Almond, like we talked about this, like one of the ones that, I don't think anybody's seen this one yet, it's coming up, but it's like, it's so fucking elegant. Like, it's just like, it is a poster already of this like 4-panel thing. And like, I think that comes from your unique way of doing art, right? Like, I don't know of too many comic artists who like are professional, profoundly good tattoo artists who then, after a lifetime of loving comics, went into sequential storytelling. So I don't think that's a weakness at all. I think it's actually something that is unique to you and that is a strength.
Yeah, perhaps, but it's just really, sometimes it's hard when you're approaching that stuff. But Rocco's really like, he's laid out how he wants it exactly to look. So I try to stick within that, because I remember I did like the first couple pages and I had kind of gone astray a little bit. And like, I think it was a watch. I drew a watch.
Oh, it was a watch. Well, yeah, so this is something that we probably, it's funny that we're talking about this in this forum, but it's like, that is a small thing, right? And it probably feels to you like a bigger thing, and I don't intend it to be, and I don't think it was big. It's like in this case, the watch just needed to be round for continuity purposes more than anything. Yeah. But don't take it personally. Basically.
No, never. No, not never. But it was like, that was like one of the first pages, and it was like when you had to like kind of reel me in and be like, no, man. And sometimes it's hard for me to hear, because like I'm usually the one saying no to people. So there was like there's an adjustment period, and Rocco's handled it really, really graciously. And
thank you.
I would like to think,
go ahead.
We both know how to work with each other. Like for tattoos, I don't tend to send anyone any artwork until it's due, like till they're there, because the more time people have with it, the more time they can fucking, you know what I mean?
Not want to do it anymore.
Well, just totally change it. And you're, like, I don't have time to do that. So Rocko and I have this thing where it's like, yep. I send it to him. Like, it just happened the other week. Nope, that's not her hairstyle, man. And he was cool. He's like, it's cool. No one's really going to know or anything. But I was like, no.
Well, and that one was actually
how he wants it, right?
Yeah.
But that's how you want it. I was like, I'll make the change and we'll get it out.
That one was funny because, so are you guys familiar with the singer Dusty Springfield? You know who that is? Mm-hmm. Dusty Springfield is in this comic. right?
Yeah.
And I guess Craig wasn't familiar with Dusty Springfield, which is not a big deal because most people don't know who the fuck Dusty Springfield is. But I live in 1968, so like that's always my point of reference. So it was just kind of like, these pages are great, but that's not actually Dusty Springfield.
So yeah, but like it was just like, like I showed it to him, he's like, no, that's not the hair. I showed it to him in enough time, and I changed it. I think it's like I said, it's a lot of give and take, and just realizing how each other works.
Yeah.
And it's been good that way. I have said, and I've told Rocko this, I'll never ever make anyone else's comic for them. Like I won't work for someone else.
Yeah.
And not because it's been a bad experience or anything, but I'm just not, I'm not that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you learn
don't
something.
take it personally. Like these are all like really small things, and it's always like continuity based. It's never this isn't good enough or like any of that.
That's not what I'm getting. What I'm getting at is, it's like you're probably one of the only people in the world that I can not take that personally with. You know what I mean? Like most times I'd be like, sorry about your fucking luck, or you know me.
Well, it's too fucking bad for you. The watch is square, and this woman's not Dusty Springfield anymore.
So, but like he's made it really easy. He's laid it all out, so it's like, and sometimes there's a battle. Like when I'm going out the panel, like in one panel we'll have like 4 different things going on, but I've just figured out ways to, in that one panel, do like 3 mini panels that really work and are readable, and like that's the main thing. And that's where like Rick and everyone else comes in, because I'll show Rick, I'm like, yo, can you know what's going on here? Does this read? And Rick will be like, yep, reads perfectly. And I'm like, okay.
Well, like one thing that we have coming up that hasn't run yet is and this was like, to me, this is some of the most inspired shit yet, is that there's a strip coming up where Almond is talking to a superior officer.
Oh yeah.
And the way that I wrote it, I knew it could be potentially confusing. So I was very interested to see what I would get back. But the idea is, you're looking at the character, and you sort of almost have to picture this like in terms of like a film more than a comic, but like you're looking at the character who's not talking, right? So like it starts with Almond, and his superior officer is telling him something, and Almond is reacting. And then in the next panel, Almond is talking, and you see the superior officer reacting. So like, I almost sort of pictured the faces to be sort of static in a way, like they would just be like sitting very plain faced. But the way that Craig did it was really brilliant, because he really drew them in such a way that you could see that there was like, this measure of sort of distrust, poker faces, in both of them. And, like when Craig sent it to me, he was like, I'm not 100% sure about this, or it's to that effect. And it's like, I want the reader to have to read it twice. I want somebody to read it and be like, okay, what did I just read? And then go back, because only then will they be able to see the brilliance in what Craig brought to both of those faces.
Wow.
I always want to push the boundaries of what comics can be as much as possible. Like I kind of think about, I don't know how true this story is, or if I've like misremembered it, but like I'd kind of just like to believe it the way that I believe it, so I don't want anybody to ever ruin it for me. But you guys know about Captain Beefheart? You're familiar with that guy? I bet Eli is, right?
Yeah,
You're Beefheart,
of course.
Captain Beefheart was a guy who like didn't play any instruments, but he still led a band, right? They were kind of like a Zappa, like experimental.
Yeah, he grew up with Zappa. Actually, they're old friends.
That makes good sense. I never knew that. But Captain Beefheart, there was a thing where they were talking to like one of the guys in the band that he led, who played guitar, and he was like, the interviewer was like, how did Beefheart work with you? Like, why do you respect Beefheart when he couldn't play guitar and you could, and you play guitar on all those records? And he said Captain Beefheart would come to him and be like, play guitar like glass breaking, or like play guitar like your family was just murdered. Put all of that feeling in the guitar, And I can't imagine saying that to an artist, but like, that's how I kind of like to feel like I'm influencing the way that Ghost Agents comes out, where it's like, something like in the second issue when we had the Chris Anderson story that we've used a bunch of times, I got really fascinated with the look of flats, right? And I was like, let's just do it with flats. Let's take all your lines out. Let's take all my dialogue out. And let's just do a story that's just all flats, you know, and like this kind of thing.
It had a really cool effect.
Right.
We are running about 10 minutes left in the old cast, but I do want to welcome another Ghost Agents artist that just stopped in, and that is Christian J. Meesey. Meesey popped in.
You're gonna have to go longer,
What
man.
up, dude? Meesey has some killer work in issue 2 and more coming.
And issue 3 as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Issue 3. It's good to see you, man. And you got your Time Shopper stuff coming out. I saw that pin up.
Yeah.
Oh, his shirt. Ghost Agents.
This whole
repping
thing.
it.
Yeah.
I didn't wear mine. I don't know why I didn't. I have like 4 of them.
You just had to dress up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a Hawaiian shirt for some reason. I got my buttons though.
Well, let's say, so what was it like for you, Christian J. Meesey Mo, working with Rocko, he said you guys needed to add a page. He told a story earlier, and
4 pages.
4 pages. And you guys talked about you wanted to do monsters. So what was the experience like for you?
Yeah, I basically got to play and have fun with these characters running around. Vasquez rocks, more or less.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that was your other thing too, the setting. You wanted
favorite spot of mine from Cali.
Yeah.
Famous for its Gorn fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so really thankful for all the freedom, but also all the ideas to jump off from. And
Meesey is basically like the Winston Wolf from Pulp Fiction, or like Wolfman, and that thing you do. Like if you need pages now, like you always can call Meesey and you'll know that he'll really do some crazy fast work. So what do you attribute how fast you work, Meesey? What do you think that is?
I think it's from doing caricatures, live caricatures for so long.
Yeah.
It's like drawing without a net, very little, especially live, no penciling at all.
Yeah.
So like when I do my pages, I do super loose roughs and then ink on top of that.
Right. I work with you like the way that Craig and I were just talking about, the way that he and I work together, like is very different from the way I work with Meesey, because it really is just like, with Meesey, it's like, all right, monsters are fighting. Like it's like, big, smash and grab jobs is basically what we do with Meesey. There's no safe cracking. We're gonna blow the safe open with the stick of dynamite when we're working with Meesey. It's basically the thing.
Awesome. I appreciate the trust and the freedom, and
yeah, dude.
So far, it's been a total blast, literally, and
yeah. I need to, and this is kind of like where we get into how it's funny how these things can work, because like the 4th issue and maybe even the 5th issue are written, right? There's guys that are working on stories, and I haven't said anything to Meesey because I know that he only needs like 2 weeks notice. So it kind of sets me up to kind of abuse the system. Although that's not true, is it, Meesey? You got a script.
I do, yeah. So.
I forgot about that. I'm glad you remember, and that because I tend to forget these things. I just love that like you guys consider me to be worthy to work with. That's what a lot of it comes down to for me. Like I think you guys are dope. The fact that I get to play with you guys, even though I bring a different thing to the table, I kind of feel like the Phil Fox, and you guys are all like Michael Jordans, or it's like that's a lot of how I kind of look at it,
Yeah,
it's like a coach.
All right, well, we're at the about 5 minutes left mark, so I think we should do the old around the horn post show plugs. So let's plug. Where can we get your work? Where can we find your stuff? We'll start with Dave Praetorius, since he's in the top for me. What's up, dude? Cool. So where can we find your stuff?
You can find me on Instagram at Red Eye Draws. You can also check out the City graphic novel, which is linked through my profile there. Issue 1 here, issue 2 is coming out next week. We got a launch party going on in Toronto.
Oh, nice.
At the Sidekick Cafe, if anybody knows where that is, Greenwood and Queen East in Toronto. Great little comic shop /bar/cafe.
Nice.
When is that?
When is that? That's May 28th at the Sidekick. Check my Instagram.
That's Friday, right?
It's a Saturday.
That's Saturday, my birthday.
It's a comic shop, and it's also a bar and a cafe, and it works like that.
Yeah, so I like to go there for drink and draws. They also do like pop-ups and stuff like that. They got arcade machines. They're all about underground comics. They sell our books there.
Fucking dope as shit.
Yeah, you make it to Toronto, I'll take you there. It's good shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so got that going on, and yeah, issue 3 is in the works. Look out for it.
Sweet. Thanks, dude. All right, let's kick over to Rick as he's next in line there too.
All right, what's up, everyone? So I'm still pimping the power. I got issue 1 and 2. Issue 3, I got the cover. It's well in the works. It's a 4-issue mini-series about a boy creating his own comic, only to discover a realm beyond space and time within his own mind. So here's some of the pencils for issue 3 as well. So I'm pretty close to getting this thing colored and get it out finally. I had Cosmic Cat minis, but me and Eli and Adam Lemna were all at Collector's Paradise this morning, and all my Cosmic Cat minis sold to people that came in and the rest of the shop. So don't have any more of those again. But if you want to read Cosmic Cat, or if you want to read any other comics from Next Panel Press members, you can go on Next Panel Press on Instagram and go in our story highlights, and you can start from 1 on any of our series, and you can make it all the way to the end. And the next drop is tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick.
Nice shirt, Rick. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Repping it. All right, let's head over to let's go to Grom it next. Old David Grom.
All right. Well, you
can from the beach.
On you can find me on Instagram at uncle_atomic_press. And I'm also part of Next Panel Press, where you can read under Atomic Chronicles. I have currently Rex and Tech's Intergalactic Artifact Hunters, and also a series called Tales of Classic EverQuest. And as Rick was saying, you can read all those in the highlights on Next Panel Press on Instagram for free.
Nice. Thank you, sir. All right, let's go over to John Burkett next. What's up, dude?
Hey, yes, you can find me at Instagram at John Burkett Studio. Of course, I'm all over Ghost Agents books, and our Kickstarter is live until June 8th. And my big news is I just launched my Patreon. So it's www.patreon.com/John Burkett, and that's where I'm serializing my sci-fi comic that I started in 2000, but now getting back to finally after working on other projects. That's called Feral Star, and it's a gonzo sci-fi space epic. Got some pages I've been working on. These are pages I started in 2020, but I'm now going back in and kind of touching up, because you know how it goes. You put a project aside for a couple of years, you improve, and you want to go back and fix everything. So please check it out. The comic itself is free, so you can see new pages. I'm hoping to post, every couple of weeks, some new pages. I welcome your feedback, your comments, your likes. Just want to get some feedback on it. And of course, if you like what you see, feel free to throw me a few bucks. I've got some exclusive content that I've yet to publish, but there will be some there, process stuff, videos, some extra bang for your buck. So definitely check it out and let me know if you like it, and hope to hear from you.
Hell yeah. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you.
All righty. Let's go back to the grid. And who's next? Dr. B. What up, Dr. Ben? Time for plugs.
Yo. All right. This is still the official launch month of relaunch. I think I've only got like 10 copies left. Nice. I don't know. I didn't count them. I sold a bunch of them today at my buddy Rikus's shop, and I left a couple there. Like if you're like in Ohio, you can go to Rikus's shop. Captain's Comics Toys, and
that's so funny. It ends with and. We were talking about that the other day. It's like, what?
I know, like I made an ad for him, and I was like, "Is that? Wait a second, does that work?" And then like he has like a little thing under that says like, "And what, you might ask?" And I'm like, I guess that's what he's doing. Okay.
Okay. You can change it up all the time. And barbecue and music and you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like today it was like and pop-up market. I was like, okay, I get it. All right.
It's actually pretty smart.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
He's a cool guy.
So I got, my comics are all I got like a link tree thick comics with the CK, not the CC. And I'm on Instagram and all the other places. The same thing. You can either look up Dr. Ben or Thick Comics. Either one works,
Right.
And I am coming back to the Next Panel Press. I was like, I slept last week, so
Got it.
You're forgiven. I know it's been a rough week for the doctor,
Fucking out of here, bud.
Hey, Dubs, the Unforgiven.
Yeah, being pardoned by Craig, that's a big deal.
All right, let's swing it over to Ian M. What's up, Ian?
Hello. I'm doing good. I have a site where I post some stuff as Square Comics with an X, and I'm finishing up this with you might know the writer for this, Eli.
Yes.
The Fury versus Spacehawk, and this is kind of turning into like my masterpiece of comics. Like it's just so out of the realm of what I usually do. And I'll be finishing up the 10th page this week, and that'll be in the 1963 book that 100% Comics is putting out. And I'm doing some coloring for the darker image right now, and then I'm going to start on my own Gekiga book. I'm going to do some mature fiction after this as a change of pace. But nice. It's like I'm having a good year. I'm really in the zone right now.
Awesome.
So, check it out.
Oh yeah, Square Comics it is. All right, thanks, man. All right, back to the grid. All right, let's hit up Meesey Mo, the one and only.
What's up? I'm working on the Time Shoppers on a boat.
Yes, can't wait.
And I'm working on finishing up another script pass, but I'm trying to finish up the 48-page first issue of Turbo Hawk.
Turbo Hawk.
Finally.
Yes. That's awesome, dude. And that was like a childhood character or like a character you created a long time ago?
Yeah. It's another one to John Burkett's notion about going back and kind of revitalizing and continuing older stuff. So
yeah. Hell yeah, I love that. Those characters that you created so early on and can grow, I think that they're some of the most valuable creations in a creator's career, just because it's like
purist shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
If it's still rattling around, it must be still bubbling up for a reason.
I hear you.
And that's where like Savage Dragon, was created when he was, a kid.
That's true.
I'm comparing myself by any means. Spawn, same thing. When he's a teenager. So that's the idea.
Love it. All right, let's head over to Jerome Cabanatan. What up, dude?
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? So as always, I have Tree Kids of Troop 44. There's black and white and color versions up on Amazon. It's 248 pages of Haya. And speaking of Haya, if you guys got kids, there's a children's book. This is Dr. Seuss style. Same characters over there. If you got kids that like to make comics, I have Haya Let's Make a Comic. That's a little it's a set of workbooks. You guys can get that. You can get that on my Etsy. If you would like to read a comic that is written by a 6-year-old girl and her grandpa that I illustrated, it's called Super Kids. That's on Amazon as well. I am collecting a bunch of strips and shorts of whatever it is, all the ringside stuff or anything that goes out of my head. Those are my black belters. It's like Black Belt. It's like Black Belt magazine, spoof, Mad magazine, Super Mad kind of stuff. So I have all that in there. I'm also serializing One Stone on the Next Panel Press. And if you want to see One Stone in print, they're going to be in black belters. It's a quarterly mag. the Black Belter 3 should be out either before the summer. So before the summer, because it still has to be spring. So either end of May, early June. And you can either DM me. You can get those on my Etsy. You can find me anywhere at Jerome Cab. That's JROAMCAB. So you do not have to butcher my name. And you can do that. You can buy those separately, or you can just subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/JeromeCab. I update every Wednesday. And if you get it, then I'll just throw you a whole bunch of stuff, including a bunch of bootlegs that I just send in the pack. So these are John Byrne X-Men. So this is
John. That's what I thought that was.
This is the John Byrne X-Men. This is my spoof on the. I use some Meesey powers with like the cartoony stuff, and you can see there's Monkey Love there.
Oh,
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And
I
then
remember that.
there's a Time Shopper page.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I got. Got some other stuff. Knocking around, but you can just follow me. I'm pretty active on everything. So
yeah,
Jerome Cab.
Jerome Cab got a good Patreon.
And, buy everything. I also accept bags of diamonds. If you wanna send it over, I'll just send the address. Just do that, and I'll be good.
Interesting. Okay.
Awesome.
Noted. Sweet, dude. Thank you so much, Jerome. Always so busy, dude. Always got great stuff. All right. Let's go. Oh, we started with Dave, Dr. Ben. All right. What up, Craig?
I guess that's last but not least, Eli?
No, last and least.
Last and least, yeah.
No,
Watch your goddamn mouth, boy.
It's next panel press all the time for me. It seems like I think now moving forward, it's like anything I do is going to be, it's like I'm going to put on there, but still working on that Liefeld stuff in the background. Of course, Ghost Agents, Max Allman is in the forefront at the moment. I do Kirby and Bot on next panel and press. It's on hiatus, and I'm working on a mini, finally getting it all put together because I want to force Eli to put it on the table at TGAF.
You know, I'm
gonna crash that table. It's it's a Murder She Wrote.
Yes.
Mini, based on the idea that she's actually the killer and has killed hundreds of people. So I'm just hustling that, and yeah. Other than that, just lots of tattoos and shooting my mouth off.
Hell yeah. Love it. All right, man. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, and you know me, I just got the Wizards. Oh, whoops, got the Wizards going on right now.
Yeah.
Those are all shipping right now. Meesey, I just put your stuff in the mail, I think yesterday or today.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just got the notification. Thank you.
Nice. Absolutely perfect. The foil, I don't believe there's any left. I think they're all sold out. There may be one left on the website, but you can get the other kind. And Ghost Agents, I'm enjoying so much publishing that stuff. Yep, you can get the shirts on TeePublic. Just search Ghost Agents on there.
Yeah,
it's been a true honor working with Rocko on this stuff, working with all of you guys on this stuff. It's truly been amazing. And I'll say that's it for me. Rocko, any final words you'd like to say?
Just thanks. Got nothing but gratitude. It's great to work with you guys. It's great for everybody that's buying this thing and making it work. And I mean, we have such an amazing community here. It's always funny to me when people like run down Facebook, because like to me, it's changed my life for the better. I mean, it gave all of us that started to collaborate together on image grand design something to do during 2020. Like when I think of, I've said this a bunch of times, but it's always worth repeating. I think of the pandemic days as being cool and bright for me, because it was fun as shit to just like talk to you guys and work on this stuff while all sorts of bad stuff was happening, sometimes literally right outside of my window. So just gratitude, man. Just so cool. Everybody who's come on since that have made the acquaintance of Sense, and you guys all know who you are. It just keeps getting better. Things keep falling into place, and I think that there's nothing that we can't do as long as we retain our sense of unity. So
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. Thank you guys all so much for enjoying and working with us on Ghost Agents. And until next time, don't just read more comics, be more comics. Woo!
Yeah.